Hello and welcome to our history-making broadcast of live racing from America. From Golden Gate, you're looking at pictures, the west coast of America, firm and fast track conditions. The weather slightly overcast, a bit of cloud around today. Just over 15 degrees Celsius, humidity 67%. They're parading for an upcoming race. Now, Hollywood Park's the other venue we'll be covering, and we'll also show you action from Hollywood Park throughout the afternoon, where the conditions on the turf track are good. On the dirt track, it's fast, weather overcast, and they're 17 degrees Celsius. And the wind from the west-southwest at 15 kilometres per hour. Hello and welcome for our historic coverage of live racing from the west coast of America. It's a big weekend of racing around the world. The third leg of the Triple Crown, Charismatic, looking to enter the record books. That's tomorrow morning, early our time. We'll have highlights on Racing Retro as well as the running of the English Derby. Shortly heading live to Hollywood Park, we'll introduce you to Joanne Jones, but in the studio, our foremost expert on sectionals, which is a very big part of form in America, Tony Brassel, joins us. How are you, Tony?
Hi there, Brendan. How are you, mate?
Good, very exciting.
It sure is. It's a boomer of a weekend, isn't it?
And we've got an Aussie-bred galloper going around today by the name of Finally at Hollywood Park.
That's right, Finally, an ex-Kiwi horse, a very accomplished horse in New Zealand, and she does the rounds in LA these days.
Okay, it might be time to introduce one of the stars of the show in American racing by the name of Joanne Jones, who's standing by now at Hollywood Park. Joanne, welcome to our coverage. It's great to have you on board.
Well, thank you very much. We're very excited to have everybody on board with us here at Hollywood Park and up north at Golden Gate Fields.
Now, good day's racing ahead now. Finally, first of all, a former Aussie. Can you tell us much about its chances today?
Well, the horse is not without a chance, I can say that much. I think a little bit of an outside chance. I have a couple other horses in there that I think might have a little bit of an edge on Finally, but we'll talk a little more about that when his race comes up. We have 7 races slated for you and one coming up from Hollywood Park in about 10 minutes.
Now, we've seen a few races from down here via our sources in the studio. It's been a bit of a leader's track so far today at Hollywood Park.
Well, it usually is. One thing that you have to be aware of, there's an old saying in American racing, and that's pace makes the race. Whether you're the best horse and you're out on the lead and you're able to slow it down, you're probably going to go on and win. If you're the best horse and you're hotly contended out there with 1 or 2 other horses, you're probably not going to win, and an inferior horse may come up and get you. So pace dictates just about every race in California.
Okay, Joanne, we might look through some of the strike rates for the leading jockeys at Hollywood Park. First of all, some of the big names of American racing riding there today. Alex Solis, 27 wins. A win percentage, Tony, of 23 is very strong.
It's a fantastic percentage, isn't it, Brendan? Some of our local jockeys have strike rates 18, 19%. So this guy, Alex, he's going extra well, isn't he?
One of the guys who's the superstars of world racing, Gary Stevens, has a ride tonight in the English Derby. He kicked off his English riding career with a double the other day at Sandown. 26% win strike rate. But there's some well-known names there, even for us down under. Chris Antley, 16%. Emil Ramsamy, 25%. We'll see him in action today.
That's right. He rides plenty of winners over there, and obviously with a terrific strike rate, 25% winners. It's 1 win in 4 rides. So very effective rider, isn't he, mate? Sure is.
Now, Joanne, who's the riders we should be watching out for today?
Well, I think you pointed a couple of them out. Emil Ramsamy, like you said, has been riding at a 25% clip. He's a guy who was riding at Woodbine, mainly in Canada. Came in here over a year ago. Has just been basically lighting up the tote of late. He's a very strong rider. You don't usually see him on the front end. David Flores is one of our best speed riders down here in Southern California at Hollywood Park. He's great at getting his horses out of the gate, straight to the lead, nurses them along, and you'll be seeing him today. His counterpart up at Golden Gate Fields would be Roberto Gonzalez. He's a guy who's known for getting his horses out of the gate. It's a rarity when you don't see him on the lead trying to steal one. Of course, the big leader up at Golden Gate Fields for years and years has been Russell Bays. You'll be seeing him in action today as well.
Now, Joanne, American racing for us down under introduces a whole new lot of terminology. We'll go through that step by step over the next few weeks, and there is a lot for us to learn, and I suppose for you, we might get you down under and educate you on our Aussie lingo as well.
I think I'll need a lot of education. We're learning the meters and the kilos, and we'll be incorporating that into our furlongs and our weight here.
Joanne, how about the leading trainers? We've got some strike rate statistics for Hollywood Park for trainers. Ron McAnally does well. He's had 17 winners on the stats. We have a win strike rate of 36%.
Ron McAnally is fabulous. He just led the Santa Anita meet across town. He's come over here. His barn is still hot. He's a good friend of one of your horsemen down there, John Morris, and I know Ron McAnally would like to welcome everybody, all the Australians, to our American racing.
Now, which other trainers are we looking at for today in our opening day coverage of American racing?
Well, we're going to see a lot of different barns. A lot of the big barns are not racing here today. It just happened that way. Bob Baffert, D. Wayne Lucas, they're having horses running in the Belmont in New York tomorrow, and they don't happen to have anything in. So as we go through the card, I'll point out who some of the high percentage trainers are that you'll be seeing.
Interesting that Ron McAnally trains the Australian horse City Success, Joanne. We saw it win last week at Hollywood Park.
Right, and that, I believe, was a John Morris horse, wasn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, it sure was.
Right, right. And he said he's got a good relationship with John Morris and does get a horse from him once in a while.
We're looking at parade pictures now, Hollywood Park, and on screen is Ordained Power, who in your market, I understand, is around a 2-to-1 chance.
Well, he was the 9-to-5 second choice on our morning line here at the moment. He is 2-to-1. He looks fabulous. That happens to be my horse in the race. I always try and go with a little bit more of a price horse when I can, but it doesn't seem to be shaping up that way. I think you're looking at the number 2 Hurricane Eye in here, a horse that has dropped from allowance and 32,000 claiming. Don't give that one much of a chance myself today. Yes, I see the 4 Salty Season, Grant Hoffman's. Another one dropping from stake, allowance, and higher claiming races. This is a speed horse. This horse can go 21-4, 45-3, and those are some fractions that you'll need to pay attention to, because if this horse gets the lonely lead, it will be very, very tough out there. Trying to find a spot for this horse, and this might be the race for it. The number 6, Orca Bay, is on our screen right now for Lafitte Pinkai. He's known around here as the living legend, going for the number 1 jockey stat as far as races won. Looks like he may get that by the end of the year. We'll keep you up to date on that. Orca Bay, though, may be a bit of a one-paced horse. Ran for 25,000. 2 back, there was a race that could be there with these. Again, another look at Salty Season. But back to a couple comments on the 3 Ordained Power. This horse was claimed for 28,000 last time, drops in today to a spot. You asked about some trainers to watch. Ted West is the trainer of the number 3 Ordained Power. He trains at about a 29% clip. This horse has had about a month and a half off, only 3 works that are showing. They're decent, and his January races could win this. So if Ted West off that claim can get him to run back to those January races, you could have a winner there.
Well, Joanne, thanks to Super Tote, we've got the latest in your betting figures. I understand 8-to-1 now, Sweet for a moment. Hurricane's Eyes at 11-to-1. Ordained Power 2-to-1. Salty Season 3-to-1. Mr. Bulldog at 5-to-2 and 7-to-2 for Orca Bay, as you mentioned, going for the riding record. In our terminology, it's 1,500 metres, the distance of the first of the races we'll be showing from Hollywood Park, which is your 5th on the card, a claiming race. Tell us a bit about claiming races.
Well, a claiming race is very simple. It basically means that every horse in a claiming race is up for sale. There's a price tag on that horse, and in this case, that price tag is $25,000. What that means is if I had a license to be a licensed California race owner, a racetrack horse owner, and I had 30,000 or so in my account, and I thought, hey, I want to claim this Ordained Power. I would go to my trainer, tell him to put in a slip. He would deposit that slip in, and after that race, basically the minute the gates opened, if I was the only one in for Ordained Power, I would own him. I would own him whether he fell down and would never race again, or whether he sprouted wings, improved, and became a $100,000 horse. He'd be mine for $25,000.
And how many of the horses are actually claimed in each race or bought?
Well, that depends on the caliber horse. I mean, you have some trainers here, Mike Mitchell, Jack Carava, some of these guys who go in constantly. You see them maybe take 1 to 3 horses a day. Sometimes there'll be 2 or 3 guys in on one horse. If that's the case, they do what's called a shake. They drop little numbers in a tube, they shake it, and whatever number gets drawn is either the lucky winner or not of the horse that you're going to put the claim in on.
Okay, now sectional times, you mentioned a couple of the speedsters in this race. 12 minutes to post time, Joanne?
About 12 minutes. They're coming out on the track right now, and as soon as they straighten away, we'll introduce those horses to you. Of course, you mentioned it's a 1,500-meter race. That's 7.5 furlongs by our terms. These are 3-year-olds for a purse of $25,000, and as I mentioned, a claiming price of the same. You're looking at the one Sweet for a Moment. Now we're getting a little glance at the 2 Hurricanes Eye with Felipe Martinez in the saddle.
And it's currently showing up at 11 to 1.
So far, that's a little drop from that 20 to 1 morning line, but I don't see that horse as one to pick today. Ordained Power just went by. We now have the number 4 Salty Season on the screen. This was the morning line favorite here, the horse that the Trackman picked, trained by Grant Hoffmans, ridden by Corey Black. Now number 5, Mr. Bulldog, trained by Jay Robbins, ridden by Alex Solis, who you mentioned earlier, a very strong 22% rider. And finally, rounding out the field, number 6, Orca Bay for Barry Abrams. He's one of those guys that comes in and claims a lot of horses with Lafitte Penkai in the saddle.
Joanne, all these horses are being led around to the barrier. That's a common practice over your way?
We do have stable ponies. These are horses that are either specifically in that barn owned by the trainer, or their pony person, the person that's on the horse, owns it and contracts out. So most of the time you'll see a horse with a pony, and that helps calm them down. I know that over where you are in England, France, Australia, New Zealand, you have lads and people that lead them out, but here we calm them with a pony.
Okay, the nice-looking Palomino leading out runner number 2. I noticed that Ordained Power has been gelded since it last appeared, so a bit less weight to carry around today, and maybe it'll get its mind on the job.
Possibly. That's another thing that could make him run. I mean, I'm looking for Ted West to do things like that. When you claim a horse, you don't just claim a horse thinking that he's going to run the same. You're hoping to do little things. Maybe he was a little feisty, and he thought by that claim and gelding him, he could make him run a couple lengths better. And if that's what he does, he's going to win today.
It's quite interesting, several of the runners that are engaged at Hollywood Park and also at Golden Gates Field. There's some breeding which does interest us down under, and there's a couple of nice imported horses a little bit later on in the card today which have come from perhaps across in Europe, like I think it's Mateev at Golden Gate, a Woodman out of a Nureyev mare which is just bred in the purple.
That's very strong grass breeding. What I like to do is dwell on the races. If they haven't run on the grass before, I'll look at the breeding, I'll look up stats and say, gee, what does this sire do? If he's a 22% first time out sire on a turf, I might make a bet on it. But if he's been running on the turf or the grass, then and not running well, I don't really care what his breeding is, because he may not be running as well as his daddy.
Very true. Well, with 9 minutes to post time, Joanne, the favourite clearly number 3 at 2 to 1. We might take a short break. You're watching Trackside USA. We'll be back with the first of our live races from the west coast of America right after this break on Trackside USA.
Charismatic Menifee flying late. Charismatic wins the Derby by an X.
Charismatic and Chris Handley, a possibility for a triple crown. Charismatic, the Derby winner, wins the Preakness.
Son. You're looking at one of the stars of American riding, Alex Solis aboard Mr. Bulldog, runner number 5 in the upcoming race from Hollywood Park, 1,500-metre race, and they're heading around towards the start. Post time, it's due in 7 minutes from now. Clear-cut favourite is number 3, Ordained Power at 2 to 1. Sweet for a Moment, 8 to 1. Felipe Martinez rides Hurricane's Eyes. It's back out to 13 to 1 from 11 to 1. Ordained Power at 2 to 1. Salty Season, Corey Black at 3 to 1. Mr. Bulldog, you just saw it, 7 to 2. And Orca Bay at 3 to 1. If you're curious about pool sizes in America on Super Tote, you'll find the win pool at around $27,000, place pool $10,000, show pool at $4,500 American dollars. That's runner number 6, Orca Bay. 3-1. It's been very firm in betting, Tony.
Yeah, it has, and its form's reasonable, Brendan. It was 4th last time out at Hollywood Park, a 7-furlong race. He's a horse that does take a forward position. He must be a chance. He's in the betting, and it is a small field. As Joanne said, the pace is going to dictate the terms of this race, and with only 6 runners, well, you'd think the on-pace runners are going to get a bit of a picnic, quite frankly.
Orca Bay is a grandson of the immortal, and I can say that now, Mr. Prospector.
Yeah, Mr. Prospector. He passed away through the week at the age of 29 years old, and one of the most influential horses in the history of the turf.
Oh, he has to be one of the all-time legends. He and Northern Dancer, the last 20 years, have been one of the dominant sire influences.
Well, they sure have, on dirt racing and turf.
OK, we might take you back to Hollywood Park now. Joanne, the latest betting, we see 9-5, in fact 8-5 for Ordained Power.
A big drop down to 8-5, Ordained Power. Ted West, people are believing in him and that claim and that gelding that you pointed out. So I think Ordained Power, definitely the horse to beat. He's got the speed to probably lay second behind Salty Season. Unless he's feeling really good, maybe he'll try and go out.
OK, Joanne, what's the latest from the track? You've had a look at them. We've looked at them as they headed out. What took your eye?
I'm still going to stick with the number 3, Ordained Power. Like I said, the claim should be a move up for this horse, and I think he's looking very strong today. What about you guys?
Well, Tony, you've had a good look. You're an expert eye in the fitness department.
Oh, I don't know about that, Brendan, but I've gone Salty Season. I think she's got the pace to be up there, and she'll give a sight. There's no doubt about that, especially with that bias that Joanne referred to earlier.
On-pace runners well suited. Now, there is the 3 runner, as we mentioned, Ordained Power. From the Ted West yard. In fact, sorry, Grant Hoffman's. And this horse has had 1 win and 2 lifetime, 1 win though thus far with its lifetime record. And as I mentioned, there's some well-bred horses. This one is a grandson of Danzig.
Yeah, Danzig, again, another influential horse, son of Northern Dancer, of course. And Salty Season is a horse that hasn't had a lot of racing in the past, only a 6-time runner. Ran a very nice race the other day, I thought, so yeah, sure to be up on the speed.
Sweet for a moment has blown in betting in the US, out to 11-1, 19-1. So Joanne, Hurricane's Eyes is almost out to its morning line quote of 20-1.
20-1, probably deservedly so. Hurricane Eyes might have gotten a little bit of early action from the barn, bringing him down to that 11-1, but he's drifted back up to probably where he belongs.
Let's look ahead now to the first of the Golden Gate races we'll be showing, which we'll call race number 2. It is in fact the 6th race on the card from Golden Gate for coverage on our Trackside USA program this morning. Cowboy Matt, Bert Lopez rides at 9-5. Exact Fear, Roberto Gonzalez 7-1. CI Ben, Jake Barton 9-2. This is a 1,700 metre race, maiden claiming event this one. 1 1/16 of a mile equates to 1,700 metres. Deputy Delegate Russell Bays at 5-2. Flowing Sands, Ron Warren Jr. 6-1. Mulholland at 5-1. Field of 6 going around in the second race you'll be seeing, which is race 6 from Golden Gate. And this is for maiden 3-year-olds, claiming prize $32,000. And that race goes to post in 16 minutes from now. Heading around towards the start for the first of these Hollywood Park races, there is runner number 2. As we mentioned, Hurricane's Eyes has been very easy in betting. And this horse is a grandson of the great Storm Cat.
He's been very big odds at his most recent starts, this horse, Hurricane's Eye. He's had 12 starts. He's only won the 1 race, Brendan. And he's been sent around at odds like 40 and 50-1 recently, so it's not surprising he's at cricket score odds again.
That win with 4 runs back and successful that day at big odds as well, around 14-1 on that occasion.
Yeah, broke his duck that day at Santa Anita. That was back in March, but he hasn't been too flash since.
OK, well, the money's still been very firm for Ordained Power. Now, Salty Season, they must be getting your mail in America because it's come back into 7-2. So, Joanne, there's been late support for a horse you suggested would be a good on-pace horse to follow.
And Salty Season now down to 2-1. This horse looks really good on the track. Prancing out there, extending his stride with his ears pricked forward, indicating that he probably will be on that lead. He's feeling good and on his toes today.
Okay, and the weather today, it looks quite nice at Hollywood Park.
It's really cleared up. It was pouring last night and it's fine. The track is in good shape. They did a good job keeping it dry and keeping it fast and keeping that speed out there. So I think we're looking at a couple of good cards between Hollywood Park and Golden Gate today. They're moving up towards the starting gate right now. You're getting a final look at the number 2 Hurricane Eye, who we've seen a lot of so far. Now you're getting the favorite, the number 3 Ordained Power, off of that Ted West claim.
Now the 7.5 furlong or 1,500 metre start is in the back stretch and at the far right end, and they've got a long straight run and 2 turns to negotiate.
Well, they come out of a chute. It's a chute start. So what they do when they cross over the main track, they put up a temporary rail. So the horses that are in the 1 and 2 post, especially the 1 post, like Sweet for a Moment, he's not getting the best shot there, because when he comes out of the gate, he might break slowly. They usually do. He's going to have that temporary rail there, which feels a little funny. It's kind of like if you're running and you're running on the rail. Sometimes you feel like you're falling inward. So the 1 hole out of that chute, 7.5, 7 furlongs, is usually not the place you want to be. You've got to be pretty much the best to do it.
On pace, we'll be keeping an eye on Salty Season and Ordained Power. So 2-1 now for Salty Season, 8-5 for number 3 Ordained Power. And the others have slipped in the market, especially the top 2. 7-2 for runner number 5, Mr. Bulldog Orca Bay. It's currently showing at 4-1. Joanne, let's take it to you for the last comment before we join our very good friend in the calling box.
Well, so far they seem to be loading well. Hurricane Eye's moving in, so let's take it up to track announcer Michael Rona.
Drawn side by side in the middle of the line. Ordained Power about to come up to gate 3. Purple sleeves and cap, white blinkers, and Orca Bay completing the line. Set now. Racing. And it seemed a good even dispatch. Salty Season in the blue silks away nicely with Hurricane's Eye and Sweet for a Moment flashing speed along the inside to make a line of 3. They're 2 lengths clear of Ordained Power inside Mr. Bulldog, with Orca Bay drifting back 4 lengths astern. Linking up with the course proper, Salty Season a bit wide, matches strides with Sweet for a Moment. Hurricane's Eye now drops back a length behind them in the middle, running 3rd. A length and a quarter Ordained Power, a similar margin to Mr. Bulldog, with Orca Bay back 5 lengths last, and 9 from the leader, which is Sweet for a Moment by a neck. Hurricane's Eye going forward again to be second at the half mile. A half length to Salty Season, still 3 wide, and 3/4 of a length Ordained Power pulled out 4 deep by Gomez at the end of the back stretch. The favourite now 2 lengths from the lead. Mr. Bulldog cutting back towards the inside. They're pretty tightly bunched. Orca Bay is 6 lengths off at the tail. With 5/16 to go, Sweet for a Moment leads Hurricane's Eye by a neck. 2 lengths Ordained Power, followed by Mr. Bulldog. 3 to Salty Season, who's capitulating, being overtaken by Orca Bay. Into the stretch, and Sweet for a Moment leads at the 3/16 pole, getting away by a length now from Hurricane's Eye, who's drifting wide. There's room between them for Mr. Bulldog, who's coming home fairly, and then Ordained Power, who's struggling in 4th. He's 4 lengths from the lead, not doing enough. Near the 16th pole, Sweet for a Moment leads by 3/4 of a length, tackled by Mr. Bulldog, then Hurricane's Eye, Mr. Bulldog and Sweet for a Moment. Mr. Bulldog going home the better and gets up a half length. Sweet for a Moment second, Hurricane's Eye 3rd, clear of Orca Bay, Ordained Power, and last home Salty Season.
Well, that has to be one of the strangest races I've seen in a while. Sweet for a Moment, never in one race in his career has he had the lead. What does he do? Pop out of the gate on top. Ordained Power, the Ted West claim, you might have noticed the number 3 had a bit of a rough break coming out of there. Looked like he threw his head up. Garrett Gomez was fighting with him to settle him down, and they didn't get the best position they possibly could have. Salty Season basically had his game taken away from him by that horse, the number 1, Sweet for a Moment. So that was a little odd.
Placings 5-1-2. Alex Solis, we gave him a good rap, Joanne, before the race, and he's duly saluted for us at 4-1.
Five horse Mr. Bulldog, Alex Solis, looked like the best thing this horse had going for him, and it looks like that was all he needed. He's raced rather one-paced all along, but he wasn't this time. He closed like the wind to catch that 1 horse, Sweet for a Moment.
Yep, good ride there, but as you mentioned, it was a strange race to see the two roughies in the field high-balling out in front. 5, 1 and 2 on the first of our races, race 5 from Hollywood Park. Now in replay, you can see Alex Solis here, Tony, on board the Chestnut in the middle.
Yeah, well, that's right. He stalked the pace and drove the horse through the split there. A very impressive rider. He's a top rider for sure, this guy. He scored a win there yesterday in 3 seconds, apparently, Alex Solis. And I suppose it gets back to the old saying we have over here, Joanne, the bigger the field, the bigger the certainty. And when we have these small fields, we do find a few aberrations in running styles and outcomes.
I think Cyrus Enriquez did a very good job of compensating for that one hole, getting his horse out of there, going for that lead, and nursing along rather well to hold second.
Okay, so 5, 1 and 2. We might look towards Golden Gate and a check of the figures for the race. We've got a couple of short price selects as they come back. That was 4 to 1 for the winner, as you can see there from number 5, which was Mr. Bulldog, and a win strike rate for Alex Solis of 22%, leading one of the leading jockeys in the US and one of the real stars in the pigskin. Okay, Golden Gate, race number 2. It's the 6th race for coverage from Golden Gate Fields. And the latest betting, Cowboy Matt, 5 to 2, 9 to 1 exact fare, 4 to 1 CI Bend, Deputy Delegate 8 to 5, Flowing Sand 6 to 1, Mulholland at 7 to 1. We've got some jockey strike rates for Golden Gate. They look this way, leading riders at this circuit. Russell Bayes, 26%. 62 wins, great strike rate. Joanne, there's some well-known jockeys here too, and some with some strong strike rates.
Well, you're going to get a look at Russell Bayes, who is always one of the leaders in the United States as far as races won in a year. The horses are actually on the track up at Golden Gate, so maybe we could take the cameras there so that we don't miss them in the post-parade. Take a look at a couple of these horses that we're going to be commenting on.
Okay, well, the latest betting has 8 to 4, I think it is, about Flowing Sand, so it's just updates, runner number 4. 16% for Joey Catsrow. And is it Adalberto Lopez or Bert Lopez? What does he prefer?
Adalberto Lopez, yes.
His 16% win strike rate?
Yeah, we're looking at 8 minutes now till the 6th race. I think we're getting an image here right now. Number 5, Flowing Sands, on the camera now, was the morning line favorite, is now 5 to 1, not getting as much respect by the punting public up there. The horse that I like was a horse you mentioned earlier, the number 4, Deputy Delegate, with the great Russell Bayes in the saddle. He's getting a lot of action. You can't fool the public. 3 to 1 on the morning line. They're saying, no, 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 you're missing out. We've got him at 7 to 5 now. Okay, number 3, we're getting a little look at Saya Ben, another horse with a shot in here. Kent Jensen, a very strong trainer with a 33% win.
Speaking of Roberto Gonzalez, we have a profile on this Mexican-born hoop, 1954, making him 45 years of age. He's won more than 2,700 races, $33 million in stakes money. He's won back